Brett? Okay.
No problem.
All right. All right, we'll call our bill meeting to order. And the first thing I see on the agenda is the review of process of design development plan. Melissa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our team has been meeting extensively today with various stakeholder groups. We met with representatives from the magistrate's office as well as members of the sheriff's staff, and we kind of went over some things, primarily the magistrate area and in general in terms of the building itself. To kind of update you since our last time, we've come in today with some, this is the existing courthouse behind us here, and showing how we propose to bring inmates, prisoners safely into the existing courtrooms by virtue of the new sally port here, vehicular sally port. It'll be a drive-in and drive-out. Kind of in this lot behind us, this is where the mechanical equipment is, kind of in this general area. This is where this is kind of a stairwell, existing stairwell. We will be removing that stairwell and turning it to the side to make it a little bit safer of a arrangement. That'll be part of this project as well. But right now, the prisoners will be brought into the sally port. There'll be a control station in here that will then manage the inmate movement down this ramp. Kind of what's there now is that handicap ramp down to this level, which is currently the jail entrance. There'll be an elevator and a stairwell. In case the elevator's broken, you can use a stairwell. Court holding, we've identified that this area right here will be used for juvenile holding, this area for male holding, and this area for female holding. The rest of this downstairs can be repurposed.
Okay.
And so I think you asked last time, how much of this we're proposing to use. For the purposes of court holding, we'll just use this amount of the existing jail, and then the rest can be repurposed for other county uses. So this will then go up 2 flights to enter in on the court level, which is this level up here. These are existing windows. These 4 windows to the, as you look at the rear of the courthouse, you've got the stairwell going up. If you count all 4 windows, those will be obscured as part of this construction, necessarily because of we're bringing the prisoners into each courtroom via, we're going to take these existing storage rooms and turn them into vestibules. So the prisoners will be brought directly into the courtroom via this secure vertical circulation element. And this room in the middle can be used as an attorney conference room, someplace where the judge can meet with the different attorneys as an aside, or could be used for jury use. So that's kind of where we are with the development of this. Right now we're working with Christina and Jim to investigate what more we need to incorporate as part of the renovations to the existing courthouse to improve things as part of this. But we haven't yet had a chance to meet with stakeholder groups and that sort of thing. So this is where we are right now.
So where you're bringing them up, is that going to the existing jury room and Superior Courtroom? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yes, I think that's what that is right now. And so we're having to split that up. These rooms right now that are used for holding will be the jury rooms. So
Okay.
they'll be kind of renovated for that purpose. You've got a lot of toilets right here, which you need individual toilets.
And so basically the district court side, on the opposite side where that little jury box is, and that door that leads there, that's what you're talking about?
Correct.
Okay, I got you.
That works pretty well.
Yeah.
And you already got the window opening there. So all we have to do is extend the sill down, and you've got a door opening.
Okay.
So you've already got your header over your brick in place.
Well, I was thinking that's where you were going to
It works
put it.
pretty
It
well.
was logical to me, so
Yeah,
so you did exactly what I thought.
It was amazing how well this works.
That's right.
Knock on wood, knock
That's
on
right near the
thick.
nurse's office that you come down.
That's right. So, and this is a huge improvement over what you've got there.
Right.
Enormous improvement. So I commend you for going ahead and incorporating this as part of the scope of work, because it really needs to be done.
But question, are you gonna, I guess we're gonna get this email to us Yes, sir, you have the other plans that he'll talk through, just.
Yeah, I got all this, the only one I don't have.
Right, the courthouse renovation. This is just the first pass, and we think we've, got the general idea. There may be some additional modifications that'll happen when we meet with the judges and that type of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'll move right along. I'd like to ask Bill to come up and kind of go through some of the site plan changes from last time.
Generally very similar to what we saw last time. Some specific changes we've made. We were talking about the bus turnaround last time. We've now got a little increased radius point on the inside so that the buses will have plenty of turning room, and we could have gone out or in with that, but by bringing it to the inside, that lets us keep the perimeter fence in a nice straight line. We flipped the parking out in the visitors area. Before, the parking was on the outside edges, and it made this turning movement difficult. Somebody that's coming in, delivery, or visitors to leave again. So we flipped that now by putting the parking on the inside. Now we've got adequate turning room on those sides there. We've also expanded and sort of delineated the staff parking a little better than what we had before. We've now got the drive leaves, the impound yard, and we've got the circulation to provide some parking here, some specialty vehicle parking. We end up with, right now, we're at 85 parking spaces, but we'll probably square off this, and that'll probably put us around 95 parking spaces, which should be more than adequate for all the projected needs. We started working on some landscaping and screening for the fenced-in area back here. And that's really kind of the highlights of what has changed from last time we were here to this time. Got any questions on that?
You had a proposed parking for the public area.
Yeah,
Where's the handicapped at?
they're right here near the entry door.
Okay.
And there's
Okay, I
also,
see 'em now.
yeah, there's two at the entry from the public. There's two for staff. And after some markups, we're gonna also add another one here to magistrate parking. So that's kind of an evolution of today's meeting.
And this is basically the same concept as the core. You're basically putting down enough parking to meet all our needs in the
Yes.
future, or this just immediate needs?
This is immediate needs with the ability to expand.
Ability to expand. Where would you expand the parking?
Well, you can see, this actually shows what we think would be necessary for visitors. In this first phase, we actually wouldn't have
You
this
wouldn't do
outer-
that.
We wouldn't have
Okay.
that outer tier.
Okay. So this basically lays out present and future needs.
Right, yeah. Next time this comes back, that'll be gone, but that was there for discussion purposes.
Okay, thank you.
How many public parking spots do you plan right now?
Well, right now, as it's shown, there's 47, but we'll be losing a third of those because we just don't need them right now.
You'll be losing the entire back row.
Yes, yeah, the side closest to 17 will go away.
Okay.
Good. So this is really coming along nicely, and traffic flows a lot better. We'll show you that. In terms of plan, again, you can see this is a working in progress document. A lot of blue pen scratch all over it, but the two areas we focused on today were meeting with the EOC director and talking about some of these spaces. I've got to go back and revise some of these spaces. Basically, what we're trying to do is take the break room and staff toilets and move those a little closer to where the 911 call center is to make it more convenient for them to get in if they need to take a bathroom break and get back on their, give that a preference over where it was down here. So we're going to be basically taking this block of space and flipping it with this block of space. You see what I'm doing there? And that way it gets it closer to the call center.
Hold on one second.
You see the two toilets, the office and the break room, and the janitor's closet. We're going to take that wedge of block of space and move it up
Yeah.
closer to the lobby. Right.
You're gonna move the IT work area and mechanical down?
Well, the IT area actually has to be relocated because what we did when we met with the EOC director, we've got a number of spaces and offices that needed to be added that we weren't aware of, that we fleshed out today. So I didn't have enough offices shown, so I had to allocate 2 more offices. So some of that had to be redistributed in the building, primarily around where we show this large record storage room up in the law enforcement. We're going to subdivide that, make that the IT workroom. And in the call center, we'll have another door that goes out through the server room to get to that break area, so they won't have to walk out and through the lobby. So we've improved some of the movement there, and we'll be revising kind of this whole block of area to incorporate those comments we have today.
Okay, from an operations standpoint, the 911 call center can be isolated from the sheriff's department.
Yes,
Okay, the same thing for emergency operations center.
yes, it can. But it does anticipate using the same public lobby if you have public visitors, or during an emergency, you have people coming in. We want them to use the public or the sheriff's lobby to gain entrance, and then they would get permission to move into those private spaces. They do have their own separate staff entry point that can be prox card, so they have permission only in and out of those doors.
Okay. Thank you.
You mentioned you're going to cut down the record storage area by what? Percentage or whatever, however you want to say it?
Yeah, we've got to work that out a little bit with the sheriff's staff, but what we were looking at is that room being, we gained a lot more room in there than we had programmed for that record storage room anyway. And so we were either gonna, depending on what the IT storage rooms were, we need to meet with that individual to talk about what their work area needs are specifically. But probably 1/3, 2/3, give 2/3 still with the record storage and take up 1/3 for the IT workstation, workroom. This is roughly what I at least wanted to show them and get some reaction to it. So we're kind of reallocating this, then we need to come back with what we changed and make sure we vet that through the sheriff's staff and make sure that's okay before we bless it. Want to get you to bless it.
Is there any other changes?
Yes, we also met with the magistrate, and you can see that on the we took spaces. The good thing was we had enough allocated space programmatically, and all we had to do was knock out a wall or two and open the magistrate lobby. We're just moving doors around. Essentially, we added a judge toilet in here, which we needed programmatically, and we talked about the process of prisoners being looked at, and viewed and transacted with upon arrest, and then the need for the staff to have a transaction drawer between the records, the booking officer when they exchange release papers. We talked about that process, and we really got this where it works a lot better, and the magistrate has kind of blessed what our markups are, and so we'll be reincorporating that and sending them back to them and making sure they approve it. So that area got adjusted. And then the other thing we accomplished today was our kitchen laundry consultant, Reggie Daniels with Camacho, came today, and you now see we've got this kind of block of space that was just kind of an outline last time with a bunch of equipment in it. And so we went through that, not equipment line item by equipment line item, but function by function, talking about the numbers of washers, dryers, and the size of those, that potentially we could just provide, I think it was 1 washer, 2 dryers to start with the space for another washer once you expanded it and needed it. But go ahead and give you 2 dryers to start with. We talked about some of those issues, talked about how loading works and how the staff dining area would really need to be more like a staff break area. They're still on the secure side, but we didn't need to have it as big as it was showing. So we grabbed that space because we needed some cart storage. And it was all really just taking the space and getting it functionally to make more sense. We talked about moving the bulk storage closer to the laundry area because of the tie there, and flipping the staff dining over to here, which would improve that function of how that's working. And we also talked about strategizing the kitchen equipment itself. At a minimum, the construction contract would include, the walls, ceiling, floor slab, all the stub ups, and then it would include the kitchen hood itself, and things like the cooler, freezer, those types of pieces of equipment. There's a lot of other pieces of equipment that fit underneath the hood, all the rolling stainless equipment. You could, transact with a contract provider that will, in terms of, they will provide their own equipment for your kitchen. It was about $300,000 worth of equipment, and tie that into your per meal rate, and they would provide it, and you would just use that with them, and that way you wouldn't have to purchase it yourself, and thereby that cost is a savings. So we talked about how that might work, and this will be a later decision for this body to, once we can present you with some numbers for you to choose which is the best route to go with. But that's a way we can carve off some money out of the budget effectively.
Two questions I have while I have you in front of me with the drawings. Coming into the vestibule of the lobby of the sheriff's department,
Yes, sir.
those automatic doors,
Not yet. We haven't gotten that far. Do they,
Okay.
would you like them to be?
no, I'm just asking the question. You're gonna have a handicap compliance entry.
Oh, yes,
For
yes.
people, because the present sheriff.
Usually there's a push paddle that we have to have.
I don't know if you've been to the present sheriff's department, but it's not compliant, it's just a pain in the neck to get in there with a wheelchair. So,
Oh, yeah, we would be fully ADA compliant.
fully ADA compliant. And the other question is, you show 2 locker rooms on here.
Yes, right in here.
Yeah. Is that for both the jail and the sheriff's office?
They would, that intent is to use, that would be used by both jail and sheriff's law.
That would be a shared space.
Shared space, yes, sir. The efficiency of doing a public safety facility versus just a standalone jail.
And you have showers in there, so if somebody came in with blood all over them, they can be thrown in there real fast and be washed as a law enforcement officer.
Correct, or pepper, that sort of thing.
Anything.
We also have an emergency shower at the vehicular sally port for the arresting officer as well. If there was like a pepper spray issue or something like that, there is an emergency deluge shower located in the garage in the vehicular sally port.
Thank you.
The kitchen area, it's still core of 300?
Yeah, 350, that's right. And again, we found a way to increase the dry storage capacity today, which was a good hit. And so, now we're starting to look at ways to make the building work more efficiently and really maximize the use of the space that we have. Now that we found out, from our kitchen consultant, that this is indeed an adequate amount of space for a jail of this size with the ultimate core capacity. That was something we were waiting to get his layouts from just to make sure of. We were worried about that having to get a little fatter, but it didn't have to.
Let
Which was
me
good
ask you,
news.
let me ask you this question. In the 911 center, what is the possibility of just having a bathroom in the 911 center? And that way they never really leave the center.
The only issue I've ever encountered with that is just a privacy issue. And it's just kind of like in a jury room, a deliberation room, you usually like to leave the room itself to get into, to access a toilet. It's just a privacy thing. That's the only reason we determined. And plus, we felt like, given the amount of space that we have and the limitations of space we had, that we could utilize a shared staff toilet with the EOC in that instance. They could both share it rather than duplicate it. Now, the other thing we looked at, we had a lot going on today. We actually have some visuals for you. And I know these are, it looks like mishmash from your distance, but we will eventually have more of a presentational quality elevation. But I wanted to get some reaction, which was a positive one today, of what the building may look like. What we're looking at here is the sheriff's office lobby, which would be a little bit taller space, kind of have a mirrored glazing around it with some heavy or eyelid horizontal mullions, which break up the direct glass solar gain. So it's an improvement on solar qualities. We have a nice large canopy, weather canopy, and then along here, the base would be a material like a ground face block. From a distance, it kind of looks like limestone. It's like the same size of a regular masonry block, CMU block. But instead of being the split face, which is rough textured that absorbs moisture, these are ground smooth, but it's still a CMU block. But it's not like limestone, but it kind of looks like it. So it's say, poor man's limestone, let's say. And, but it's a very durable material, long-term material, lawnmowers won't mess with it. And I wanted that up to the windowsill height, all the way around the building, okay? We're utilizing a lot of metal rib panels that would be kind of a, in my mind, it might be a kind of a brushed aluminum color. So it's contemporary looking. It'd be kind of maybe a horizontal, heavily ribbed architectural type metal panel. We use that. You can see back here the vehicular sally port would be wrapped in that, as well as the whole back of the jail part. And again, the brick base running, the block base running all the way around. So when we get to the point where we can expand, when you do go to do that expansion, you're not having to tear down brick. You're just taking off those metal panels. You can reuse them, or they're easily removable, and then continue with the expansion. So, but this is an architectural finish to it, so it is attractive, but it's not, it's not anything that can't be readily removed as well. Then up front, we've got, on the corners, we've got these kind of the windows expressed on the corner as corner windows, again with the horizontal mullions to give light shading devices for the natural daylighting quality of the interior space. And then there's just some punched hole windows where we have offices. And that's kind of what we're looking at right now. And you can see these two doors you're talking about, Mr. Clem, that were essentially like storefront doors, like any office building would have. But whether it has an activation paddle to automatically engage one of the doors, we'll be looking at all that detail of how that works to meet barrier-free requirements.
You got pinned in down at the bottom there. You got ink pen.
Oh, yeah. This is the entrance of the jail portion. And I wanted to stick up like this sheriff's part. We just didn't get it right. This is hot off the press. So we're still developing this, and we said we want the jail entrance to stick up kind of like the sheriff entrance, a little higher than the rest of the building. And the lobby would get some clear story natural lighting in it. And that's kind of really where we've identified the nicer part of the building would be in the two lobbies, and the rest of it's fairly utilitarian. But it's still, I think what we're shooting for is an attractive building that has civic dignity without, not a Taj Mahal look, not getting crazy with it. So I think it's investing monies wisely to, for these type of civic functions that the sheriff's office has, where people can readily understand that that's the entry point. But then after that, it's where the windows are there, that we need to have windows. And where they're not, they're not. The jail part you can see is metal panel and block, but it still visually from a distance will look attractive.
You have questions?
And the other thing I would ask is to have these, so we can look at them as soon as possible. I'd like to be able to get them on the computer. That's the main thing I want.
So it helps to zoom in on them a little bit and look around and look at the detail.
Okay.
So, thank you. Did you do that?
The last item I think that's on your agenda is that we're requesting, I guess, a consideration for decision on the use of either promoting going to the cells themselves, that is from the CMU, either to the metal cells, et cetera, precast. I think you should have or had a recommendation from the design team on that. And Mr. Clem, I think to answer one of your questions from last meeting that we had, I think you had asked at one point, how does the CMU cells duration-wise work with regards to some of the steel cells, for example? And my initial response, I guess, was to say you have to sort of watch wait till the end of the project. However, the reason I had said that is because initially I was sort of taken back because when you do the CMU block cells, it is not just a process of just doing all the block cells at one time. It's actually done in stages over the course of the duration of the construction between the various components that are coming in, that is the cell doors, for example, the block walls, the concrete, the footing structures, et cetera. So it's extended over the life of the project, and so therefore to try to really focus on that isolation by using the CMU cells was somewhat a little difficult, but
That's okay, you don't need to
Okay.
explain anymore because I looked at all the information you provided me, and basically what you're doing is, one, you're reducing the footprint of the facility,
that's correct.
and two, it allows you to be more consistent on your construction schedule.
That's correct.
And two, three, it decreases the time period required to get.
And that's
things done.
correct. And in
Allows you to plan in the future, so, no, I fully support and endorse
Okay.
the steel cells.
Okay, I appreciate that. And again, the steel cells, I think in the recommendation, I had to put duration in there in terms of what you could anticipate in some of the savings aspects.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's sort of what we're looking at here, and I guess the majority of these cells that we're looking at basically from these 4 housing units is where the steel cells are going to be comprised with. I think the recommendation also extended to look at the possibility for the group to consider the use of precast or pre-engineered shower units and holding cells if that lends itself to be able to take into consideration. Okay?
I guess with the, even though the steel cells cost more per unit, with the savings in labor and time, is it gonna be about a wash?
I think so.
I think it's gonna be cheaper.
Yeah, I think the reality is that we'll probably, over the life of the project, of this project, that is from the start from the construction to the end of the construction, I think the overall, we will receive a savings in the overall process. When you do the comparison of cell by cell, yes, it is a little bit more expensive in that regards. But again, the factors that do come into play is the smaller square footage that we're going to be looking at or taking advantage of, quicker time frame, it's off the critical path, and then we're also going to ensure consistency and quality control of the cells, and less likelihood that we're going to have some complications when the outside state agencies come in to verify the spaces that we're looking for each of the cells.
I guess the construction's a lot more labor intensive to it.
Yes, yes.
I was gonna ask, I forget, you said this savings in square footage on that building would end up being about what, by using this?
There's roughly, I think we're looking at about anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 square feet, because again, what's gonna happen is with each of these cells that you see here, the building actually will be brought back a little bit, because each wall, instead of being 8 inches thick, is going to basically be about 2 to 3 inches thick. So overall, when you multiply all that out, you're gonna draw this basically back a little bit. And then you go straight across here, and that's where we're gonna start visualizing some of the savings.
How much what's the cost of a facility per square foot approximately?
Which cost are we referring to?
The jail facility, jail overall.
The overall right now, I think it's budgeted, I want to say, I think it's somewhere in the 225 right now, plus or minus. I'd have to go back and take a look at that from a budgeting standpoint. And again, I think the square footage of the building is also, we're in the process of trying to sort of focus down on that issue. I think I had,
Well, if that was true, and you cut the footprint by 1,750 square feet, you should be cutting your cost by somewhere in the area of $393,000.
it's potentially, but again, you gotta sort of look at this thing, because again, some of the space that we're talking about is right in here is the day room space, which is basically
Cheaper.
a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
think,
but still, the savings of $100,000 would easily be accomplished.
I think what we're gonna see is the savings in probably in that realm, but more importantly, I think the other savings that we're going to definitely, I think, experience is going to be in the construction time that's going to be used. For example, I think in the report that I had indicated, if we have 14 months allocated for construction time of the facility, we're anticipating that we could probably save 2 months' worth of construction time in that regards, and so therefore that cost is
Well,
basically
just based on the square footage, if you knock it down to $100,000 from the $393, $100,000, that's 200 cells. You already save more. So,
I think there'll be a savings.
It's just a no-brainer to me. It really is.
Yeah.
And I think we were in total agreement that that would be our team's recommendation to you as a committee, is to move forward with the design and implementation of the steel pre-manufactured.
There is a way to run a real cost-benefit analysis, not knowing what other problems you're gonna have with the construction schedule.
Exactly.
Because it's
Exactly.
intangible.
Exactly.
And
There's
I've
all
looked
these
at mistakes in
intangibles.
the past.
Right, and these are, we create more knowns with what we're recommending to.
Okay, so do we have a consensus that is what the committee wants to do.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Yes, and mainly because of what I saw when I went down to York County, even if it was just for upkeep alone.
Right.
Totally in favor of the steel saw.
It's a great point, Mr. Hill.
Thank you.
Right down my part.
Okay. We're done.
I do it again.
Okay. You have anything else for us,
You want
Christina?
to cover any next steps on the advisory committee of what our next steps will be?
Yeah, sure. I think our next steps after we go back and look at all the revisions from, the various meetings we had today, we're gonna start engaging all of our in-house engineers that are working on the project, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, security. We'll also be starting to do interiors work. So we have an interior design person that works out of our office that'll start laying out all the furniture, and that inevitably will cause, some shifting of walls and things to make sure everything can fit in. And we'll meet with all the stakeholders on those layouts as well. Those are kind of the next meeting steps.
And we'll also be bringing in our environmental planner looking at life cycle building costs and energy savings ideas that we will present to you. And we'll go through a very detailed list of energy savings ideas and any cost ramifications. We'll have Nick look at those and then present them to you again with our recommendations on what we would recommend you consider, yes or no.
Well, one thing I would like is that each of the committee members get your blueprint as we go forward. And if there's any comments or concerns or questions about something on the blueprint, that we go ahead and provide you, each person provide you a list of questions or concerns by email so that you can address them as we go forward with
Oh,
the
that's a
meeting.
fantastic idea.
Because I'll be seeing them as I look at the blueprints, and I believe the others might too.
And I assume PDF format is kind of preferred, if we send you PDFs where you can bring them up on, or
Yeah,
actually
PDF's
hard
fine.
prints.
How soon before the meeting will you need that?
Well, if we don't catch it at the next meeting, it will be a thing, when we get it, we respond. And if it's too late before the meeting, we'll have to wait till the meeting after that.
Right. Okay.
That's the way.
So if we got our updated documents to you, let's say, 3 days prior, would that be enough, or it needs to be a week prior? What would you think would be a adequate amount of time to get your questions or?
I only need a couple of days myself.
And what if we shoot for like, if we're doing, Friday afternoon, if we're doing these meetings on Wednesday typically?
That would work.
That would work for me.
Okay. Great idea.
Okay. I mean, there's still some chance that when we show up on Wednesday, there'll be some more changes, because we work on these things right up to the last.
Yeah, I understand, there's wants and needs, and what I'll start looking at is it enough or is it excessive in relation to wants of various people want certain things in this facility in relation to cost, in relation to particularly staying within our budget. And I have no idea what you've done thus far would do in relation to the target that we have. And that'll become more important as we go forward. And I assume we're right at about the 25% design point, aren't we?
That's right about 25%, yes, sir.
So we got time, but we gotta get it right. We gotta get it right. That's all I ask.
When do we schedule the meeting?
The week of May 12th. I think we initially had that on the 15th. I guess we can decide if we want to do it on Wednesday in lieu of Thursday.
14th.
I will on the conference that week.
Whatever.
May 14th.
Switch it to.
Good for me. 14th or 15th, are good for me.
How about the 14th? 3 o'clock. Does that work for everybody?
At what time, sir?
3.
3 o'clock.
If that's still Wednesday, now, as far as the schedule is concerned, in behind or on?
On.
Okay. Any-
We're making a lot of progress.
Mr.
Hope you'll see
Chairman,
that.
excuse me, Ms. Smith will be out of town at another function that day, so.
And just as a, looking ahead, they are approximately 25%, and then we'll meet again next month for an update, and then the following month in the June meeting, we hope to be able to present to you design development drawings at that point, at that meeting, looking for approval on that to continue moving forward.
Okay. Anything further from anyone? All right, we're adjourned.